Hey, so I opened this thing up for a Q&A forum. I'm going to try and keep stuff down to 5 minutes. So I had a first couple of questions come in. The first question was from Tony on my Facebook. Let's see if I can find it. See, the thing is about this kind of stuff is I don't really plan, I just kind of do. So the whole point of these videos was because I have people that ask me questions about my life, because I do a lot, I guess. I always I used to always see my life as pretty boring, and I guess it's not boring. It's just my life, and because it's my life, it doesn't seem as interesting to me as it may seem to other people. But I've been sober for almost 10 years. I'm going to be celebrating July 9th of 10 years of sobriety. I've traveled a lot. I've played music, I guess professionally. I mean, I've been paid to play music. I've been paid to speak. I get paid to make buttons. I've been paid to do construction. I've been paid to do a lot of weird, odd jobs and everything in between. I don't know. I just am a survivor. So I decided to throw it out there and ask people, what do they want to know? I'm looking. Oh, here we go. So what do you want to know? So, because people ask me questions and they want to know things. So I just kind of gave an open forum that if you have a question, just ask me. So, Tony asked me, what music do I approve of? Well, I listen to everything. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. I listen to such a huge variety of music, and it all goes by my mood. I mean, I've got everything from I always think of the extremes. So I've got Peter, Paul, and Mary to Brother Lynch Hung to Portishead and Tom Waits and Acid Bath and Skinny Puppy and Misfits. I mean, obscure stuff, Pantychrist. I love music that's real. I love music that's powerful. I love music that's honest. And so it all depends on my mood. There's things I listen to in private that I would never listen to in a public forum, because it means something to me for a certain time, and there's an emotion that I need to process. So it's just there, music is uplifting. Music is just, it can help you process emotions and stuff like that. So I think music that you love, that's the kind of music I approve of. I mean, I think approve is a weird word, because when I think of music, I don't think of approving or disapproving. It's the universal language, music is. So things connect to you, and they connect to your emotions, and so letting you go through those range of emotions is important, I think, and to feel what you're feeling is important. And music hits in a way that a lot of times, or actually in everything I've found, that it's really hard to connect with other humans, but on a one-on-one conversation level, but music just hits in a different way. And so music is, I guess I approve of whatever you want to listen to, because it's your music, And then Mike asked me, what got you into punk rock? So, and I guess this is probably going to go longer than 5 minutes. If I could make this 2 questions and 2 posts, and would probably keep it under 5 minutes each, but whatever, we'll go with it. So, Mike says, what got you into punk rock? What were the first bands you fell in love with? What was your experience like getting into the punk scene? What punk bands are you really loving at the moment? So, well, I think the very first punk rock album I ever listened to that I really enjoyed was Punk in Drublic by NoFX. And then from that, I got into, there was a Misfits tribute cassette tape I had Terrible World or Violent World or something like that, but it had a whole bunch of different stuff. It had like Prong doing London Dungeon, which I love that version of London Dungeon. There was a lot of different kind of influences all over the board, but I've never really been huge on radio, and I get plugged into things by what people play for me. So some other things that come to mind was like a local Salem punk band, Blastona Necrosis. There was another band I like. Well, it's not, I wouldn't really call it punk, but Crippled Bastard was one I used to listen to a lot, and it was very dark, and it just resonated with me when I was 18. There was One Day War from a house show in Portland. I almost got knocked out by the singer's microphone, or maybe I did. I don't know. I was pretty drunk that night. And he was super cool and gave me a CD and a patch, and I loved it, and I still have the patch, and I still have the CD. So I think that just being a Salem kid growing up in Salem and gravitating towards the punk kids and going to house shows and things like that, there was a lot of local shows going to in Portland and a few here. I think the first punk show I ever went to was in my buddy Jared's garage. I was in 9th grade and sleeping over with his staying the night at his sister's, and he had a punk show in his parents' garage, and I think that was maybe possibly my first real introduction to punk rock as far as just local scene and stuff like that. So I don't know, there's a lot of stuff. The first bands I really fell in love with, as far as punk music goes, Crass. I love Crass. Like, I love Crass because Crass did so much introspection that they kind of, like, the way I see it is, they saw the joke for what it was. And they disbanded because it's just a conundrum, like the way that they went about things. Like, they so much introspection to see the discrepancies and even the things that they were following and the things that they were singing about. But there's one of their songs on Yes Sir I Will, What Did You Know, What Did You Care? And I love that song. It really speaks to my heart. It still speaks to my heart. The first bands I truly fell in love with, I think Portishead and Skunk Anansie. They were different, and I was watching 120 Minutes on MTV when I was like 16, and I just really gravitated to that. Also 9 Inch Nails. My mom had Pretty Hate Machine, and I would spend like a week a year at her place and go through her record collection, or her album collection. She had CDs, and Pretty Hate Machine, it was the first time that I felt like somebody understood how I felt about religion. And when I listened to Terrible Lie and a couple of the other tracks, for once I didn't feel alone, and that's something that I love for music, is it makes me feel less alone, because music is so emotional and powerful. So my experience, like, getting into the punk scene, I didn't understand the difference. Like, people try to explain to me house punk, street punks, this, that, and the other thing, and the different levels of punk rock, and it didn't make sense to me. I used to wear a wedding dress and my combat boots and my leather jacket, and people would laugh at me and clown me for wearing a wedding dress, and I thought it was pretty and I wanted to wear it. And that's still how I do things. Like, today I'm in a t-shirt, and tomorrow I could be all gothed out to the nines, or or something else. I don't know. I just dress how I feel each day, and I don't really think much about what anybody else says or does. And to me, that's punk rock. I was never a political punk. I hate politics, as far as like the way that America is run. I've traveled enough to see that other countries are doing things a lot better in a lot of different ways, and I think we're pretty ignorant as a nation. And it really breaks my heart how much we will destroy each other for nothing. You know, like, we're all in this together. We all have to survive on this planet, and yet we will just tear each other apart and tear each other down without even trying to understand. And I have friends from all walks of life, and because of that, sometimes it makes it hard to find where I land and you know, just connecting with others, because I have a very, I guess, different, I feel like it's a different way of looking at the world, because I'm not going to write somebody off just because, you know, of their political beliefs or their religious beliefs. You know, I like to try and understand. I like to try to find common ground, and I like to try to plant seeds of openness and love, and you can't do that when you're spewing out hate. So I really try to do that. And so I guess with the punk scene, my experience getting into the punk scene was I never saw myself as a punk. I just saw myself as a Becka. And I never saw myself as a goth. I saw myself as a Becka. And I've never seen myself as anything other than a Becka. Well, androgynous. I guess I do identify as androgynous, and that's something that's been with me since I was in my late teens. And I just kind of keep that to myself for the most part and just roll with it, because it doesn't really matter what the world sees me as. I know how I feel inside. So I guess my experience with getting into the punk scene is I don't like the scene. I don't like the word scene. I like punk rock music. I like some of the fashion. But I think when you get too wrapped up in the fashion aspect of it, I think that you lose a lot of the connection with people. And I think that goes for any fashion style or anything like that, you know, like, I don't know, be yourself. I think that's the most punk rock fucking thing you can do in this world, is just to be yourself. And what punk bands am I really loving at the moment? I'm going to say right now, my favorite punk band is Some Kind of Nightmare. And the reason why is the heart and passion that Molly and Shy have. I was working Punk Rock Picnic when I was on tour with the Mentors, and and I don't endorse any bands. Just live and learn. Things happen. But yes, I toured with the Mentors, and but I went to Punk Rock Picnic, and I saw these kids, not kids, but they're young couple of young punks, and the passion and the energy they had, like, there wasn't anything special about the music per se, and there wasn't anything that really resonated. It was very generic punk rock, and, you know, it's like, okay, I can tell, you know, what styles they're influenced by, but there was something about this band, and I didn't know at the time that it was Some Kind of Nightmare. There was just something about the intensity of the people behind the two microphones, behind this bass and guitar, that just enthralled me. And you know, there was like GBH and Jello Biafra and a bunch of bands everywhere, and I was just zoned in on Molly and Shy. And at the time, I didn't know it was Molly and Shy. I just knew it was these kids just pouring their heart out for whatever reason. This was what they were doing, and it just made sense. And I stood and I enjoyed the set, and I didn't go talk to them after. I didn't, you know, because to me at that point the music was kind of just generic punk rock. It's like, okay, cool, but they're having fun and they're enjoying it and they love what they do. And then I think it was a year later, I wound up playing a show in Olympia, and I opened up for them, and I offered to let them crash in my house because they were just so passionate and kind. And at that point, I still didn't know that it was the band from Punk Rock Picnic in California. And I don't know, this just beautiful friendship has grown since then. And it was actually years later when I found out that just through conversation with Molly, one time we were talking, and said that, you know, they'd played Punk Rock Picnic, their very first time going out, you know, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, you used to have blonde hair, didn't you? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, I totally watched your guys' whole set and was just enamored by your energy. And I've, you know, watched her struggle with cancer and losing her grandmother and a lot of ups and downs, and you know, through Facebook and then through just talking to them and having them stay at my house at various houses that I've lived in when they've come through town. And I don't care what they're playing. I don't care if they're playing punk rock or classical music, just they happen to be in love with punk rock. They're very dynamic. They have so much passion and energy and a genuine kindness and sincerity that is so rare to find in people. And because of that, I don't care what music they play. I would always support them. And I love them more and more and more as time goes on and I get to know them. And it's great to see that they're starting to pick up bigger festivals and they're starting to get the recognition that they deserve, because they've worked hard for it and they've done the time. And road time is so hard. It is excruciatingly hard. And even if you love it, it's still really hard, and it takes its toll on you. And I just love to see them grow. And so yeah, I think that they're my favorite punk band at the moment. Some Kind of Nightmare, and you should come check them out in Salem on the 17th, Tuesday, at Blast Off Vintage, which I happen to be opening on that show. But more so, I think you should stay. Come early, catch me, stay, see them, and the other bands playing. But yeah, that's it. Anything you want to know, I'm going to do my best to be as candid and transparent. If I really don't want to answer, I'll just say it's none of your fucking business, because that's how I roll. But in a nutshell, if you want to understand the inner workings of my mind and what goes on through this, I am Becca, and I am Soprano Bastard, and these are my thoughts alone and how I perceive the world. So ask me whatever you want. Cheers.